but there's only 4 teams of the 30 clubs around the association still left standing, so it's never too early to look at NBA fans' maybe favorite time of year. That would be the summer and the offseason. And Donnie, although the year has come to a close for the Oklahoma City Thunder, what an optimistic season it was in OKC, a team that outpaced the Denver Nuggets to earn the number 1 seed in the Western Conference with the NBA Coach of the Year in Mark Daigneault and, of course, a star in Shea Gilgis-Alexander and a first-team NBA All-Rookie performer in Chet Holmgren. But entering this year, OKC did not have one of the shortest prices to win the Western Conference. It was 29-1. So now we take a guess on Guess the Line of what the price is going to be entering next year. If you had to estimate what that number looks like for the Thunder entering next season to win the West, what do you think it is?
It's got to be one of the favorites up there. So if we're taking a look at 29-1, because it's always hard to say when the team is actually going to want to start to get good. And the reason I say that is OKC has had some pretty good pieces together, but it's apparent they were holding them back to get better draft picks and say, we're not ready to maximize our talent. Now you're in a position for OKC after this year, you're going to maximize your talent. It's no longer about draft picks you have a ton of. It's no longer about having a young basketball team. You are extremely young. You take a look at that starting lineup. SGA, Isaiah Joe, Dort Williams, and Holmgren. That is a great baseboard of young players to build off of. Now, the question is going to be, how do you spend some of those draft picks in the future to bring in that veteran talent to get you over the hump? Yeah. And what I mean by getting over the hump is making that long run now in the playoffs. They already got the number 1 seed. They show you they are a very good NBA team in the regular season. Now just need a little bit more of that help. So if we're guessing what the odds would be, 29-1 last year, I mean, to be honest, what are we looking at next year? 6-1, 7-1 at a long shot, maybe even less than that, Ben.
I can't wait to see what those odds look like because the story, as we have said many times on this show, entering a new NBA season in 23-24 was the idea of the Big Four, the 2 teams from the Eastern Conference, favored to win the NBA championship and, of course, co-favorites to win the East, Boston and Milwaukee, and the 2 teams about $2 behind to win the NBA championship, but co-favorites out west, the reigning champs in the Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns. 3 of those 4 teams never amounted to getting anywhere close to those numbers. I mean, the Denver Nuggets did reach the second round and a Game 7. But at 29-1, Oklahoma City was tied for the 8th best price to win the Western Conference crown, along with 4 other teams, including the Timberwolves, who, of course, are favored now to get that done at a minus 168 series price against the Dallas Mavericks. I have to believe the price is less than 10-1. I have to believe for Oklahoma City, the price is in the top 5. But depending on how this offseason shakes out, DRS, and we look at L.A., the Lakers and the Clippers, and we see what Golden State brings back, and depending on what happens in Phoenix, if all of the big 3 do return, I wouldn't be overly shocked to see Oklahoma City not have one of the 3 or 5 best prices, just given how the odds makers view the NBA season in large part. And this year being unexpected for those young and rising teams to kind of outlast the teams that have more of that postseason pedigree with those superstars that we have known more so in the last decade in the association.
Exactly, and there's a lot of room there. They have a lot of money to spend on the salary cap, and also they have some unbelievable options to flip some draft picks for superstar players, because the one thing you could take a look at in that lineup, I like Isaiah Joe, but he'd be great coming off the bench, being able to fill it up from three-point range. If you improve that shooting guard position here on OKC with a flat-out veteran star, that changes the equation. So you're right about that. We're sort of in a holding pattern, because the one thing I think we can understand about OKC is I don't think they're going to return next year with the same exact team. And why would you? As I said, salary cap to spend, as well as using those extra picks that you can flip. You should be able to get 2 to 3 nice pieces in there to make a run. And also, back to the original statement for me, so many times like, wait a second, who's this SGA guy that's dropping 35 points, but then they won't let him play for 3 straight games because they need losses. Then they bring him back, he scored 35. That was like 2 to 3 years ago. Now this guy's playing every single night as a legitimate MVP candidate. It's time to surround all those guys with talent, and I think they will. So I would be surprised, again, that 10-1 price be a little bit high. We expect movement here based on a team that's already won the number 1 seed in the regular season. Let's see what happens in the offseason.
Yeah, DRS, I say I wouldn't be surprised if the odds maker said it. If you were asking me and you and I were in the FanDuel
Yeah.
Sportsbook risk room, I would have that price at plus 750, plus 700, because I believe in the Thunder earning that valuable postseason pedigree and an offseason where you would expect for them to add a critical and important piece. I have full belief in the Thunder getting back to the top of the Western Conference next NBA season in 2024-25. Here's one of my favorites from this Guess the Line segment that we're doing and next segment as well. Nikola Jokic was the preseason favorite to win the 2024 NBA MVP at plus 430. I expect him to be the favorite entering next year, but I don't know what that number necessarily looks like. And I wonder how much the odds makers in a market that is not necessarily quantifiable change that number. Because for Nikola Jokic to win 4 MVP awards in 5 years, I would think would be rather unfathomable just based on voter fatigue, knowing it is a narrative award. I think the Joker could be the preseason favorite entering next season. I don't think he wins the MVP award next year.
You hit the nail on the head, because it's not so much about him being a great basketball player, which he is, and quite frankly, probably should be the number one overall guy at the start of the odds market at the FanDuel Sportsbook. But there's no, how can he win the MVP next year? Because usually, I talk about this all the time in every sport. You got to be an MVP candidate for a couple years before you win the MVP. It's very rare, Ben, you come out of nowhere like, hey, didn't know who this guy was, and he's the MVP. You have to build yourself. It's almost like the all-pro team in the NFL. You got to be an all-pro for 2 to 3 years before you actually get named all-pro. The reason I say this, and you're right about it, by hitting that nail on the head, is Jokic should be the MVP favorite next year, but everybody's coming with the mindset he's not going to win it again. So how low can you put those prices, knowing that everybody else is going to be pegging Luka Doncic a little bit below, SGA or Joel Embiid, or just somebody who didn't win it last year at this point? So I don't think he's going to be as high as that plus 430. I look for an opening price around 5 to 1, knowing that the voters and also the bettors say he can't win this again.
I'm betting on Luka Doncic. More Guess the Line next. Guess the Line continues as we have an outlook for next season and the offseason in the NBA. And we're doing this before the summer months, before free agency, before an NBA year has truly come to a close, with the conference finals beginning tonight in the Eastern Conference in Boston between the Celtics and the Pacers. I say that because of the large caveat. I think that would be tied to the New York Knicks price entering next year. I think it's pretty apparent. For the Knicks to get back to the mountaintop, for the Knicks to make the Eastern Conference Finals, for the Knicks to be a true NBA title contender, they need another piece alongside Jalen Brunson. That piece is not Julius Randle, so I wonder what New York does this offseason. A couple of years ago, there was a thought, DRS, that the Knicks were maybe not that attractive destination in the Big Apple that they once had the idea of being. Now I believe New York is. I think there will be a big fish on the line to make their way to Madison Square Garden for next year. So the Knicks entered this season at 16 to 1 to win the Eastern Conference crown. I believe it was the 5th best price, well behind both Boston and Milwaukee, with Philadelphia and Miami in front of New York as well. What do you think the price is on the New York Knicks entering next season to win the Eastern Conference Championship?
Yeah, if we're taking a look at it 16 to 1, you know it's going to be lower than that right off the bat, because the Knicks have a really good organization, a good basketball team, and superstar players like Jalen Brunson. But the fact of the matter is this roster is going to change next year, and also the landscape of the East. I don't know how much it changes from being top heavy. The reason I say that is the Boston Celtics are going to have a championship-laden team. Granted, most of those players we expect to come back. You also take a look at the Milwaukee Bucks. That was a down ending to the season. Why? Because most likely some of your superstar players got injured, one like Giannis Antetokounmpo. So let's just say he holds the pedal to the metal in Milwaukee, as he's told him repeatedly. I'm not going to stay here or be happy unless you give me exactly what I want on a year-to-year basis. They'll be back up there. And also the Philadelphia 76ers looking to add another max contract player along with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. I think those 3 teams will be priced ahead of the New York Knicks. But after that, it really should be the New York Knicks, which a 16 to 1 price in the East should be much lower as the 4th technical seed. So if I'm being honest with myself, probably an 8 to 9 to 1 price on the New York Knicks in the East next year, to me, does make some sense, because they will make changes, and we saw how good they can be with Jalen Brunson, but I honestly believe they'll be seeded 4th in the odds market once we get those numbers from FanDuel.
I think fourth is correct, but I wonder what fourth best is in terms of the number. These notes from our producer, Joe Frizo, who tracks the markets very well. I had it incorrect. It was not New York with the fifth best price. It was sixth best. Boston and Milwaukee, super short co-favorites to win the East before the year at plus 175. Third best number was the Cavs at plus 750. Then Philly at 10-1 with the uncertainty around James Harden and his status. And then Miami with the fifth best number at 11-1, and the New York Knicks at a 16-1 price. I think New York is closer to that 10-1 number, but I think Boston will enter next season as a very short favorite to win the East. If Dame and Giannis both return to Milwaukee, which is what we would expect, I think they have the second best number, and I think Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey have been that formidable duo in Philadelphia, third best price. So where exactly are the gaps in terms of those numbers? I do think New York has that fourth best price. Could Donovan Mitchell impact that price for the Knickerbockers? Donovan Mitchell, what team is he going to be on in 2024-25? What would you set the odds on, DRS, that he returns to your favorite city, Cleveland?
I would probably put that at a plus money price at this point, not actually as a favor. Like, oh, yeah, he's coming back minus 300. I just figure that, if you play in Cleveland and you hear the squawking outside and you're pretty much doomed from the beginning of the season, where it's all about a lot of times these guys, yes, they want their money. They want to live in a great place, but also they want to have a chance to win a championship. Is anybody talking about next year, a lot of good players going to Cleveland to surround Donovan Mitchell and away they go? No. So if you see other teams in great destinations with organizations that have won championships, that's going to be much more alluring to him than staying in Cleveland. So I would put the favorite as him leaving Cleveland here at, let's just say, a minus 200 price as opposed to staying, which I think would be a dog price right now.
I agree. I would say minus 250 for him to go anywhere else in the NBA, probably plus 600 for him to return in Cleveland. I just really think his time in Cleveland has come to a close. I think the Cavaliers are going to undergo some offseason changes to that roster and maybe even the coaching staff and JB Bickerstaff.